see the usual late.
All right. There we go. We should be up and running now. Back in the good old days, YouTube just started streaming immediately. Not anymore, though. Not anymore. Okay. Hello, chat. How are you feeling today? Are you happy? Are you fat? Is there an ad? Well, YouTube does like inserting ads at the beginning of everything, so get used to it. Just be glad I don't hit the little button as often as they tell me to. I do like the addition of the little button that goes, "This would be a great time for an advertisement," which pops up after 5 seconds of any given video. I'm sure it would be profitable. So, today, we're gonna talk about creativity again, and well, some of the trials of it as well, as things do not always go as smooth as we would hope they would. We have with us today Christopher Evrard, who has made several books now, haven't you? And you're working on a Kickstarter for an art book set in the universe that you have created.
Correct. And all self-published, if I may precise, because it's definitely not the same as having the backing and the publicity power of publishing house, even small one.
Absolutely, because the thing is, the reality of the modern day market is that you're often just going to have to do everything yourself, as the big publishing houses. Well, I've got a dude who I know a guy who worked at a publishing house in Oslo that has since actually gone out of business. Because it simply was too competitive a market. Because back in the day, this was actually an old publishing house too, started in the 1800s of all things. And the way this business has kind of evolved over the years is almost kind of disturbing in a way. Because originally, the publishing house was kind of a very elite organization. It had a very small group of clientele of, like, in this case, doctors and what's that silly word for people who like birds?
Ornithologist.
Yes, thank you very much. Like, it almost only released like scientific journals, and then they moved over to more like common publishing in the form of poems to begin with, and then eventually began moving on into comic books eventually. But the thing is, back then there wasn't all that many people actually making stuff. Like, it was a very small handful of people, and yet in the modern world, in the like 1990s, like very late 80s, etc., people started actually figuring out that they could try to make stuff themselves too. And it's kind of led to this bombardment of publishing houses where they will turn down 98% of scripts sent to them on a good day because they don't have the time or resources to release a fraction of it, which is also why they'll only try to release like thing they know succeeds. There's the famous story of J.K. Rowling, who was thrown out of like 11 publishing houses because nobody wanted to give her a chance.
Yeah, it's the perfect bad example, but yeah, there is many artists and writers like that.
Yep, there's the vast majority, in fact. But the cool thing is that it is now actually possible to try and release your own stuff. Like Amazon, for example, has a whole system to allow you to release books on their site at relatively minimum cost in comparison to, producing the actual printed books as well.
This is what I do. Amazon is my printer. It's print on demand, and the price of it is okay. Honestly, if you are a smaller creator not on a tight budget, but you don't have many means and deep pocket, this is a good solution.
Yep, because if you're going to go to a printer, they're not going to be like, okay, so how many do you want made? Like 5.
Exactly.
Like, nah.
This is also a problem I had with the art book itself, because I have to budget it all, of course, and I think I've run the number for like 500 copies, and 500 copies of the art book with the best quality I could manage to ratio to quality and price. So 500 copies, more or less 3,000 euros. So it's
Okay.
not cheap money.
Even then, 500 copies for 3,000 euros isn't terrible.
No, of course, but it's
But it is it
yeah.
is
If
cash.
yes, it's again the problem that you have to pay up front. That's the
Yes.
problem. That the big publishing company, publishing house, and even, for example, some people said, "Oh, but I have an art book of Zelda or From Software that is very much less expensive," and I like, of course, because they can print like 100,000, and even if they sell them like 10 euros, they can make a profit of it. So we are not playing on the same scale.
Absolutely. Because that's the thing too. These the printing houses of course are interested in making big deals, which is why if you can come in there and order 100,000 copies, you're going to get pretty good discounts on their services. Because obviously
Yes.
the materials is going to cost what the materials cost, but the printing house needs to make money too.
Yep. Always about money. And this is why the small creator, and I'm not speaking of for myself specifically, because I know many writers, and I'm sure you two guys also. It's always the problem of cash, the funding, the finding someone that can do something that you like. For example, for myself, I can write, but I don't draw. I don't 3D sculpt because there's a figurine on the Kickstarter. I don't do like pyro engraving. I have to pay for every bit of expertise that goes into the process of this project.
hmm And speaking of expertise, Trim's Art Shack is there saying, "Greetings, everyone. Allow me to shield my good friend Christopher Everard's. I'm never going to get that right.
Just say Chris.
And his Vistia. Oh, he's here now. Well, you can just have the money then. He has been shilling you several times now. You should be
I
very
know.
thankful to the man.
I am. And as a Norwegian, I have to hug him every single time because I know he hates social contact.
That is true. We would prefer it if you'd stay over there.
I know. And no, please, people, don't say I'm French. I'm not. I hate French as much as you do. I'm from
Yes,
Belgium, and
he's Belgium. His
it's
people have been invaded by the French many
Somehow
times.
it's worse.
the thing with French and France and Belgium, it's more or less the same as Sweden and Norway. I know that it's not the same scale, and that the country is not as deep as history, content, and all. But yeah, we hate each other deeply.
And passionately, I have no doubt.
Exactly.
But okay, so to return to the topic at hand a little bit here too, the how do I put it? Like the beauty of it is you have the opportunity to at least try now, whereas back
Yeah.
in the day, like it's even today, like 3,000 euros for 500 copies. Like that's quite a lot of money to mobilize, you know, and that's just for the copies. And then, as you say, you need the expertise in all of the other areas, which means you need to hire other people's time, and other people's time are never cheap, and so on and so on. I mean, having made the larger law series that I've worked on, like each one of those runs several tens of thousands of dollars in terms of art and assets, and that's even when I do all of the editing and voice acting and scripting myself.
Yep.
As I'm eventually going to move on to more edited content, there's another few $1,000s in expenses there as well. It stacks up awfully quick, doesn't it?
Yes. If you scroll down, you have the chart pie with all the money where it will go and all, and only for the artist, the drawer, 9,000 euros, and it's a pretty good price if you realize that there will be something like 100 art piece made. So the deal I made with the artist is I will work with you forever as long as we appreciate each other. So it's a long term partnership. So the artist is okay with lowering the price a bit, but still it's 9,000.
And that too is not actually bad at all. In fact,
No.
it's pretty cheap, especially
Y-
for art of that quality and scale.
Yes, I'm deeply aware of that, and I think this is also because the person I work with very much enjoy what I do, and as she put it, it's also profitable for me because I will put it on my portfolio and show to other people I can do this. Please hire me.
Absolutely. We've also got
Wo-
little Kib here, of course, who's running his own game development studio, and he's currently being crushed beneath the ever increasing weight of wages as well.
Oh,
We
Also,
all
on the
know what
topic of
it's like.
employees.
Chris and I have had a good couple interviews on his channel about development and indie and what it's like to be indie. And he's a great guy. Definitely recommend that you check out his work because he's got a big fucking heart. But yeah, it is something that's always going to be crushing, especially as you expand. I've been very fortunate, and I'm expanding the team somehow. But you know, that's due to the power of crowdsourcing, and that's the thing, especially when talking about like publishers for like books or publishers for video games, right? The thing is nowadays is there's a new alternative, and that alternative is crowdsourcing. You can just fund projects now with people who genuinely care about those projects and that are passionate for them. We live in a definitely a better age than that existed before, I'll say that much.
Hmm.
Well, there is pro and con about that because, as Arch said, we are allowed to start and try to play the game. I mean, there is a probability that you can start and show your stuff and all. And that's something we didn't have it back in the day. But now, seriously, the more experience I have in the field of art, will it be books, art, video game, and all, the more I feel I was just talking about that with Trim a few minutes before the stream. Um, the cancel culture, the woke agenda, and all that is destroying every single bit of entertainment that we have today, and the one we love back in the day. And the latest assassination was Velma with Scooby Doo, because I was a guy who spent most of my time in front of the TV watching Scooby Doo as a kid, and it destroys talent. It destroys sometimes life, work, family. Some people can go homeless, and people with mental health issue. And unfortunately, this is not a rare occurrence in the art field. It's very complicated to work across this very dangerous minefield where every single one of your competitor can be a traitor. It's soul crushing, seriously. I think there is a story about the guy with Zoe Quinn who I think he killed himself, if I'm not mistaken.
There are plenty of stories like that. We had a guest on a few months ago, Fresher Luke, with another Kickstarter, who told us the story of how he was essentially ostracized from the entire animation industry after having worked on several big name
Is
titles
it
for Cartoon
the
Network, etc.
is it the one with Steven Universe?
I think he worked on a
Yeah.
Yes, he
couple
did.
of episodes of that.
He did.
Yeah, okay, this guy, yeah, because I watch almost all of your stuff, Arch. And yeah, I remember this guy, and yeah, it's one of the dark side of this industry that in one way we speak so much of it that it's known, but you don't go deep enough sometimes. And I don't say you like you yourself, it's the people who talk about it. It's more like, yeah, another thing is destroy, another story about cancel, blah blah blah. But what is the actual consequences in someone's life? And this is, yeah, for me it's just, well, I will fail probably. I still have hope. If you think that the stuff you see on the screen and what I'm saying has value, please consider support me. But yeah, it's just a fail project. There is time and a dozen and a million every single day. But for some people, the consequences are so much more, and it's something that really speaks to me. And I can go on for an hour about that, and I don't want to darken the mood just right now at the start.
Well, the consequences they can vary in severity a lot.
Yes.
There are those who have their entire lives destroyed. There are others who have managed to keep themselves far enough out of it to at least be able to go on, but it can ruin relationships and friendships, of course, professional as well as otherwise. I've managed to ruin at least 2 of Kyle's friendships when I came out that I was speaking to Sargon, which some of his old crew objected to. I mean, that shows you kind of the idea, isn't it? The fact that me, who knows Kyle, speaks to a third person.
Yep. And honestly, you know, the way you view that is like, okay, well, they were going to flake out at some point anyways. Better to shed that skin now rather than later. I viewed it as a positive thing. But it's always funny to bring up because it is an interesting thing that people will flake out over things like that. Like there have been people in our team that have flaked out because of what we do on the channel to raise money for the project. And people have their own senses of moralities and the pendulum swings back and forth. And so you just have to learn to take the loss on the nose, bounce back up, and keep on trucking. Keep your chin up, because that's all you can do. Got to keep working.
Yep, the grind is the way. Always.
It is the only way.
Yeah, there is, to be honest, in the art field, there is only that. Just keep working, producing, and one day something will stick, hopefully.
Well, it's also the long road of self-actualization as well. And I mean, the truth is, you're never actually safe. In fact, you're safest when you haven't made it, because at least then they won't care as much.
You also have the luxury of failure too when you're tiny.
Yes, yeah. There is a certain freedom from expectation, I guess. Meanwhile, when you get larger and you get more of a name recognition as well, it becomes more interesting to begin targeting one for a variety of reasons. A recent interesting one, I'll send this to you here, Kyle. So, I don't know if either of you are aware, but there appears to be a conflict going on in a little Eastern European country known as Ukraine. I know it isn't covered frequently on the news, like more than every 5 fucking minutes. But this has drawn a lot of international condemnation, as many of you know. Now, I argued early that it seems like a bad idea to punish Russians for the actions of the Russian state, but it's gone now to the point where people are trying to cancel game developers who exist in Russia for the actions of the Russian government. And one of the reasons is Owlcat, which are creating the Rogue Trader RPG and also created the 2 Pathfinder games. So they're now being cancelled, sorta, for merely being in Russia. Because they have a product that's mildly popular.
I'm not even surprised at that point. I'm even more surprised that it took so long.
Well, the problem is they don't really have any purchase. You know, it's like, okay, why are you canceling this company? Oh, because they're Russians. Okay, that's...
So they're just based on nationality. Like, this is the point we stoop to.
That's a low blow even for the modern day gaming press.
Yep, because the victims of the whole conflict themselves are who? The Russian citizens and the Ukrainian citizens first, and then the rest of the world because of economy.
Yes. The other one that's happening recently... God, come over here. There. Is this one here. So, Atomic Hearts is coming out in, I think, like 6 weeks or something.
It's coming soon.
And there's some legitimate controversies surrounding it, like the fact that the original trailer, of course, was entirely pre-rendered. No gameplay whatsoever. It was a proof of concept, which people are now latching onto. There's also been a lot of internal drama in the development. It's been in development for a very long time. There's a lot of unsurety as to whether or not the direction of it has been well handled, lots of delays, etc. For all we know, this could come out and it could be a train wreck of apocalyptic proportions that doesn't even fucking run.
Entirely possible.
Entirely possible. But the thing is, we have no real evidence to suggest that other than I heard there was drama within the studio. And yet, there's a lot of people who are trying to place the game in a negative light. One that I saw was that they was sexualizing the robots, apparently. It's like, okay, I see.
Interesting.
And of course, the one I sent you, Atomic Heart dev facing backlash on statement relating to Russia-Ukraine war. Like, oh my god, what did they say? Where they're like, Putin forever, kill all Ukrainians. There's got to be something fairly spicy, right? Well, this is the statement that I sent to you here now, and the statement is, we do not comment on politics or religion.
Holy shit. This is exactly what developers are supposed to say. You're not supposed to be
That's
for,
awfully
you're not supposed
spicy.
to be against. You make video
Yes.
games. Shut the fuck up. Oh. Well, at least they're remarkably based.
Well, I suspect, honestly, this is a defensive mechanism, because the next paragraph, of course, has the usual, we do not and will not condone contributors or spammers with offensive, hateful, discriminatory, violent, or threatening language or content. Like, threatening, violent language or content, fair enough. Hateful and discriminatory. I know what these words mean.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much of a thing. I think that they're fucking recoiling here because of the backlash.
Yes, because they got hit over the head saying, how do you mean you're not political? And then go like, okay, what's the usual virtue signals? That.
Control C, Control V.
Yes. So I don't know what to believe about Atomic Heart in terms of its quality. I am going to play it because I do love the aesthetics of it.
Hmm?
But God knows if it even boots up.
Well, don't worry, Arch. You can always play System Shock. The remake is coming out soon. It's going to be great.
Yeah, but I don't want to, Kyle.
Chat, he promises he'll play it for you. There you go.
For me, I'm mostly waiting for the Starship Troopers old game. I don't remember the name.
Off-World Industries, Starship Troopers Extermination, correct? That's the first-person shooter multiplayer one.
The one I was kind of afraid they were copywriting Arch video, but apparently it was like a confusion or something, so all okay. But yeah, the potential of the game is tremendous.
It's a very interesting concept. And we shall have to see if they can pull it off. That genre is in desperate need of some innovation, though, so I do wish them all the best. But it goes to show that the drama will always be there, and that there's always an interest in trying to find something. But it can also turn, of course. Okay, so one project fails, there's always the next, and as an indie developer, you've kind of just gotta keep going until you find something that sticks. And for some people, they're lucky enough to make their first dream game, and it works out incredibly well. There was even... Where was I? Let's see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure the Factorio dev.
Yep. Factorio, Stardew Valley, Terraria, Minecraft. Those are pretty big Shockwave successes.
There we go.
Those are also 1 in a million, I want to point out.
Oh, one in a fucking billion.
Cream of the crop.
But Factorio developers have announced that they are raising the price of their game to account for inflation. Tell me what other games could possibly get away with that.
Not much.
If you have the fandom and the support and you have the market, like Factorio, like try to name several Factory games. I can name Mindustries, and I think that's it. And I think Satisfactory, but that doesn't come close to Factorio's polish, its modding, its refinement. Like, there isn't really one that compete, is there?
Imagine if EA came out and said they were going to increase the price of their entire games catalog by $5 retroactively.
See, they don't even have the sway to do that because they've lost the influence, because they have such negative stigma now.
Imagine if Ubisoft did it, or any other developer. Everyone would be up in fucking arms about this shit. But the Factorio devs can get away with it because they've delivered a good product.
They're also indie and an underdog, and people look favorably at the little guy over the big guy.
If I remember correctly, Minecraft did it at some point back in the day. There was like the beta price and then the normal price, and a few years after the success, maybe a little big bucks more.
That might have been during
Mhm.
the Microsoft acquisition, if I remember right.
It's possible.
Minecraft 2 is one of those examples of an indie game that just. It was probably the first indie game that actually just literally exploded.
All it did too that really made itself explode is like it took the concept of Legos and then turned it into a video game.
That as well, and it got lucky enough for hyper autistic people to see this empty sandbox and then decided, I'm going to build the USS Enterprise in this fucking thing.
Yep, you can mod it to such ludicrous degrees that you can create like nuclear thermal reactors and you have to like maintain the coolant or they'll explode. Like it's ridiculous.
Yep.
And it's got the fandom to support it. It is an enigma now.
Yeah, it's a cultural miracle.
Is Kerbal Space Program also an indie game?
Yes, I believe they were indie at some point. I don't know if they are anymore. I think they have a
At
publisher.
some point.
Because it was also not to the degree of Minecraft, but also like a big success from nowhere.
Yep.
Mhm.
Came out of nowhere. It was one of the only games that let you build, a space program and like launch.
I think it
stuff
is
into
the
space.
only one. Like I can't
think
of a single other one that does what Kerbal Space Program does. Certainly not to that degree.
Not to my knowledge. Squad aren't indie anymore, but when they started, they were. I'm pretty sure. Because I can't remember that far back. So Chad, if you remember, but yeah, if you have a AAA publisher, even AA publisher or publisher, you aren't indie anymore. We're now you're now in with the big boys. Relogic, the guys that made Terraria, are still indie though. Minecraft is no longer indie. Factorio, I believe, is still indie. Don't let the AAAs get away
Factorio is
with
still
it.
just run by like one dude in his basement who has assistants now. They're still working on that mysterious fucking expansion pack of theirs.
Yeah, where the fuck? I can't wait for that one. That's gonna
It
be
is
great.
a miracle that Factorio became popular, or less of a miracle and more of a sheer quality thing, I guess. Because those people, they view marketing as not even a mysterious dark art. They view it as some sort of cancer to be avoided at all costs.
The big thing with Factorio's marketing and a lot of these indie fellows boil down to is actually the YouTube sphere and the content creation sphere. Twitch streamers,
Yes.
YouTubers, because they can get around and circumnavigate the publishing, the what do you call it, the gaming magazines and stuff like that. Those aren't really anymore. Gaming news networks. There we go.
Well,
You can get around it.
That's the way of marketing today, at least from my experience, because it's not exactly the same field when we are doing books and stuff, but I'm I'm thinking there is way more risk value in interest if you try to make someone notice your stuff in a book or video game or painting or I don't know, than doing the normal way of traditional media or books critic or something like that. For example, here with Arch, I have so many more eyes on my stuff than in maybe 5 years of trying to yell loudly, I'm doing stuff. This is the best way, I think, in the modern era to promote your stuff is doing, trying to get in contact with YouTubers, streamer, and stuff like that. This is the people that promote work today. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with your opinion, actually. I think that is a fair assessment.
That's why Kyle sucks up to me so often.
Listen, somebody's got to carry me to victory. It's not going to be me.
I even with a joke with a friend of mine, because I know that you are you had people giving you money gifts to do stupid stuff like for the avatar and a picture or the fishing game, and one of my friends say that you will cut your beard because I have a giant beard that is very precious to me, and I was like, I don't know. But stupid challenge like that may sometimes be very interesting in the marketing sphere.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to be willing to do things you wouldn't normally do. Play shitty games like Ride to Hell Retribution or like have a fucking Marith avatar and then get a miniature STL made and add it to your website. So you have to bear that burden for the rest of your life, you know? But that gets the money flowing. And whatever, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, but what are you willing to do to see the project through the end? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to, you know, endure? Like, are you going to play bad fucking video games? Like, you know, and at the end of the day, it doesn't become that big of a deal because, like, well, the end goal is pretty worthwhile, you know. So it's
Well,
not
for
that
me,
much heavy.
for me, it's my life, but I won't go too much in telling my personal life and stuff. But yeah, it's something so important that I may consider it. But it's you should not transform yourself into a prostitute either. You have to keep some ethics at least. But sometimes you have to think what is the most important, the success of your project or your integrity, maybe. This is a bit far-fetched, but it also led me to think about your latest video, Arch, about the temple guy, the idiot you massacre in your latest video. You said something like, I was cancelled and treated as a danger for many, many, many companies and people and all. And for me, your most glorious moment was the fuck Arch in the Creative Assembly. This was your magnum opus moment, honestly. And this is true because people like me, or even Kibbs, if I may, Kibbs, we are not dangerous. We are not noticed, and we are not in other people's head. We are nobodies. This is when you are trying to get on people's nerve that you are someone of value and danger. And this is the goal of many creators like us. To be of value, to be of notice, to be on people's radar.
Well, interestingly, this used to be the thing like 10, 20 years ago, more maybe, where how do I put it? It was cool to be a revolutionary in a way. And revolutionary is the wrong word, but there were integrity and standing up to the established organizations, established companies, or whatever it might be, which has kind of turned around these days. We've returned to like the early 90s, late 80s era, where everything was just super excited. I remember like early 90s when there was a new game coming out, for example. Everyone's just super excited because gaming was this incredibly niche hobby, and we could barely even imagine the idea of a video game being bad. Like, nobody was waiting for Donkey Kong 2 to try and critically analyze it. Everyone was just like, yes, Donkey Kong 2.
Yes, exactly. It's we are in a very weird spot today with entertainment.
Yes. And then we came into a bit of a hypercritical period where it became popular to just try and disassemble and make fun out of things, which eventually transitioned into the more realist era of the Total Biscuits, which tried to give as honest critique as possible, whether it be good or bad, and more of a consumer-friendly era. And then we've moved on to this era, which is the exact opposite, where you can't really get excited for the product anymore because the product is Welma, but you're not allowed to say that the product is Welma either, because then the companies will ban and blocklist you. So you've either got to not talk about it, or you've got to find some way to spin it positively. Like, Welma still has like 60% positive critic scores on Rotten Tomatoes. You know, there are some people there who had to turn themselves into human pretzels to figure out a way to still score it above average.
I can spend a night of love with someone for big bucks or shave my beard, but I will not go that low. Never. It's Velma. I can go on forever. I will shut my mouth. I thank you for suffering for us, Arch, to watch it.
It also kind of shows us the fact that the world has become very just yes or no. Like, back in the day, the rating system actually served a certain purpose because there was like a rating from 1 to 10. If a game was a 5, that didn't mean that the game was awful. It means that the game was perfectly average, straight in the middle, produced by Slytherin. There you go. But no, if a game is below an 8, like you're not gonna care. Like even an 8 is kind of shitty, you know.
It's true that with game rating and even TV show and all, and Rotten Tomato is a nice example. If you are, for example, 70%, you think yourself, what's wrong? Why not more?
Yes. Like when a YouTube video dips beneath like 90% likes, you're like, wow, I must have fucked up on this one. It is an interesting world, but I do believe that perhaps the counterculture is going to be more popular after a while as well. I mean, hell, we could even build it. I mean, entire YouTube channels have been built off being essentially counterculture, though that is also it's an identity that I don't really necessarily like, because you shouldn't define yourself by what you're in opposition to either. But
You
When you
become
mean
your opposition.
when you say counterculture, you mean like fighting the today garbage that is put out by Netflix, for example?
sort of like the
Yeah.
broader idea of the counterculture has always existed, in that there has been some sort of opposition to what is mainstream. But
Oh yeah.
well, what is very fascinating is, of course, that the left wing of today probably used to be counterculture themselves. Yeah, because still, like back in the 90s, as I talked about so many fucking times, there was this idea that we were all moving forward. Like something like racism was viewed as a problem that if we hadn't solved, it was certainly being solved.
Yes.
Whereas
Yes,
now we've moved back to that. The counterculture realized that it seemingly didn't have anything to counter, and instead of finding the next thing to counter, they just kind of dug down, which has led us to this interesting situation where now you've got the left being in alliance with corporations who put up their brands, put up their flags, put up their logos, repeat their slogans, as if the corporations are counter to themselves. And obviously, this means that this isn't the counterculture anymore. It is the Palestine scarf of culture. You know, the fucking thing that is supposed to represent the fight of Palestine, of a terrorist organization in many regards, being sold at Walmart and people wearing it as a fashion statement.
Yeah, and it also remind me why, because I'm a metalhead, so I love metal music, and it was supposed to be a counterculture movement, and it's definitely not anymore. And back in the day, when you were doing counterculture, for example, metal or punk music or something, you were at least producing something. And today it's not. And maybe, as you put it, we are coming to an age when it's a thing today again. Like, okay, I'm against this, but I also produce something. I'm not just crying in a corner and so asking someone to stop doing something. It might be very interesting. And I think one of the first example we have is the Isam guy, Evrard July, maybe something like that. He basically raised his middle finger so high, but he produced a comics also.
Well, that's the thing. It's about the ability to actually provide something else as well, you know?
That's why I'm trying to do.
That's not always easy either, because
I know.
as much as we do hate a lot of the current day stuff, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of
Yes.
shit out there in existence.
Yes, this is something because I have also a very, very small YouTube channel, and I speak on this channel about autism, and also as I put it, the behind the curtain of the art industry. Because yes, in the Francosphere, many authors still believe that I write a book, so when success, and I'm like, there is maybe 5 million people like you. So don't expect someone giving something to you just for your pretty eyes. And yeah, so sometimes it fails. but I really hope that even if it's not me that will succeed, that we are going to have a new wave of entertainment, and just doing nice stuff, nice stories, nice books, nice something. I was pretty surprised, for example, by a movie I watched today was the latest Puss in Boots movie. Very cool. No politic, no nothing. Just a nice story with a nice twist on fairy tale. Just good entertainment. At least, finally.
We are slowly returning to that era. Like we genuinely are. So there's something to look forward to, certainly. But okay, let's twist the knife, shall I say? Because there's a valuable lesson to be learned even in failure. And hey, you still got 22 days. It's not guaranteed yet, but there is absolutely something of value to be learned. And like, okay, you tried to make a thing on Kickstarter. It might not succeed, but that doesn't mean you should stop. So when you started planning out the art book, for example, like what was your thought process? Why did you want to make an art book like this? Like, what was your intended audience? What did you hope to achieve with it?
Firstly, it was a promise because it's not my first crowdfunding. It's my third. And the first one was for my third novel in French. And we hit a stretch goal when we promised to start making an art book. So this is the fulfillment of this promise. Also, I wanted to illustrate every single monster, every single land, every single people of the thing you see in the book, because even the novel are illustrated themselves. So to give a rough number, every single novel costs around between 3 and 4,000 euros total to produce. And I thought to myself, making an art book would be very nice in a big color picture, something on the line of the Warhammer Army book, but not with the start part. So this is a Space Marine, this is a Bull Rider, this is a Dwarf Catapult and all, with bit on anecdote, bit of lore blurbs. For example, this is a Phoenix, this is the kinds of power you have, and something like that. For the target audience, to be honest, I was maybe throwing a dart in the fog. I'm not sure, but I was hoping that the quality of the art and the final product I will show, because there is some pages that was already done in French and English, was good enough to spark some interest in people. And also, I hope that some of my friends will help me spread the word, but sometimes in the best moment, this is where you learn who's your friend and who's not.
All right. So it was mostly an art book created for, first and foremost, your existing audience,
Yes.
and then an effort to try and find more people who might be interested in it based on the quality of the product, essentially.
Yeah, and also a first step to the English-speaking audience, because in the Francosphere, the entertainment and culture in general is dead in the Francosphere. I have a video prepared to talk a bit more about that, like a statement, maybe a bit personal, but I hope it will resonate with some people, because there is nothing left of great value in the Francosphere part of the world. Like, we still have some bande dessinée like Tintin, Asterix. I'm sure you are aware at least of these two names, but that's basically it. The rest, it's just like you, Disney, Netflix. We have the same shit as you. There is no effort to promote the little guy from our town or our country, and this is really saddening. Really, I feel betrayed by my own country, to be honest. So it was also an effort to take a first step towards the English-speaking audience.
It is the crushing, cancerous blanket of the American sphere of cultural influence.
Most is, yeah, I get the joke, but I don't know what it's like in Norway or other part of the world. For example, Spain. I think they still have some. They still value their own culture, but yeah, in Belgium, France, even some Switzerland. Maybe Switzerland is a bit better, or Quebec, so it's a part of Canada. They try to make something for their, their talent and all, but France and Belgium, it's if you don't have connection with the correct people, there is no hope, especially in this environment when wrong think is a very, very important crime.
Certainly, but it is genuinely the American cultural. They do have a cultural hegemony at this point. The U.S. entertainment is the standard for entertainment. French comics were an interesting exception to
Yes.
this rule for quite a time. Then I saw in Spain drying up. I mean, as you say, it's Disney, it's EA, it's the big names, it's fucking McDonald's. McDonald's is in China, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's very. When you really think about it, it's impressive. Like, for example, the biggest publishing house in France is named Brajlon, and it publish Game of Thrones, Witcher, every the Royal Assassin, every single thing you can imagine. But there is maybe like 5 French author. They prefer to spend money on import or export. I don't know what's the correct way. Well, to take foreign author than to promote their own. And it's, I get the money argument, but still, it's yeah.
Well, it
It's
is it is the idea that you need to have either something that is guaranteed to already sell, which it's like you gotta how do I put it? It's kind of the same problems you have in certain fields of engineering, where you are expected to have like 5 years of work experience before taking up your journeyman's role at a company. Like, you're going to be our toilet cleaner. Okay, cool. How many years have you worked in engineering already? Oh, never. You need accreditation before you can even apply for the job.
Yep.
Now, on the bright side, there are counter pushes to this as well. Japanese manga and anime has made great strides in competing against American comics, for example.
They succeeded.
Yes, they have. To the point that now that they've started using you see their language against them. There was a hilarious article recently about the there was some sort of organization, I forget the name, that basically takes stock of the sales of comics in the US, like as a full. And they're the ones who've been providing all of the data on like manga outcompeting comics again and again and again, which people have been used as ammunition to beat them over the head with again and again and again. So what they did was they removed the word manga and they redefined manga as adult comics instead. And so suddenly the comic industry actually rose by 4.7% the last year.
It's funny, but I'm not surprised.
It's kind of beautiful.
It reminds me a bit of the story. Maybe you can tell a bit more about that, since you are from the US. It was a company at the time, I don't remember the name. They were doing like a third pounder burger for cheaper, and people still thought that the quarter pounder was better and more. You get more for your money. You just change the name, and sometimes you just need that. It's an impressive event.
No, that's marketing for you.
Now, on the topic again of trying to look for the audience there, so this is where things get interesting and where the valuable lessons can absolutely be found. How to find an audience in the age of the internet. Well, point number 1, get lucky. Point number 2, get lucky. Point number 3, just keep working until you die. And that appears
Yes.
to be the only tips available. Like, there is no surefire way other than, I don't know, breaking into PewDiePie's house and live streaming from it. I don't recommend that, by the way, but it'd be one way to get some eyeballs.
Yeah, we get back to the thing I told about earlier. If you have the chance, just like me right now, to be hosted by someone a bit famous like yourself, Arch, or if you are in the eyes of someone like Jeremy from the Quartering, or what's the other guy, like Razorface, Mauler, someone like that, a big name that can vouch for you, it helps a lot. And I think this is something that way more creators are going to try in the future.
Or you can try
Cloud
to
chasing.
become the creator. Right,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah,
the
of course.
Kibbsian strategy. Now, Kibbs has failed in every conceivable way, but at least he's trying.
Actually, I've succeeded all my goals
Actually.
and exceeded expectations. So yes, that is the alternative I tried, and it worked for me. Again, what worked for me, what works for Chris, what works for Arch, may not work for you guys in chat. Like, you're gonna have to figure out what clicks, because that's one thing that I've learned when I've seen other people try to mimic my strategy and they just faceplant. And it's like, everyone's different and you need to be ready to adapt. It's okay to like look at other people and like copy their homework a little to get you on your footing, so to speak, but you need to be adaptable and you need to be ready to figure out what you need to do to make ends meet for your project. And not everyone will make it. That's the important thing. Like, one indie guy I knew, like, he lost his family, he lost everything, he made his game in the end, and it flopped. And everything he did in the indie sphere amounted to a failure. And that is his legacy. He lost everything. And not everyone is cut out to do it. And just trying isn't good enough. And just keep trying isn't good enough either. You have to win. And if you're trying and you keep failing, at some point you're going to have to face the hard reality. Am I cut out for this? And it's always a terrible thing to see, but you got to ask that question.
When you are saying are you cut out for this, you mean like mentally, financially?
Well, anything. It could be financially, it could be mentally, but can you succeed? Not everyone has the skill to be a great artist. Not everyone has the skill to succeed at making an indie game. My game might fail as soon as it's made, despite my channel being a success. You know, just because I've succeeded at one phase of the process, if I fumble halfway through the game's development, the game turns out, imagine that. The game turns out and the combat is just shit. It's the worst thing ever made. It's unbearable. The story is insufferable. At the end of the day, that all amounted to nothing. But there's still something you can take away from that, because, well, it turned out I was actually not a half bad content creator and I could actually make it on my own. Like, you got to be willing to roll with the punches, is all I'm simply saying. Sometimes you make it in some areas, and sometimes you succeed in areas you never thought you would otherwise.
Then there's also the necessary skill to self-analyze. So, okay, I hate being... So to be a little... I'm going to provide this feedback in the best spirit I can. But I think you made a couple of mistakes in your Kickstarter.
No shit. If it didn't succeed, I think this is because something went wrong at one point. Of course.
Yes. So first, starting it in December is optimistic.
Yeah, that's it's. I chose to follow the advice of, again, a friend, not a friend.
Yes, because now you're competing for people's money with gifts to friends and family.
With Santa Claus,
Yes.
no winning that fight. Yes,
this one is battleground.
This one is deeply learned, and I'm actually quite mad at the person I put my trust in about that.
Secondly, too, I think you asked for way too much for the audience you have. Like, the books themselves are very expensive, and this is the Paizo problem. Because I remember Paizo, the tabletop creator, was having some problems with their employees because they couldn't live dead center in the city on the wages they were being paid, and since they were insufferable millennials, they couldn't simply live half an hour away from work because, that was basically suicide for them. And so they created a union to push up the wages. This even as the company couldn't afford to produce the books they were making. Like Paizo couldn't afford to make like full color art books. Could you mute yourself, Kyle? We can hear you typing.
Oh, I apologize. I gotta tweak my mic. We just fixed it. There should be no humming, by the way. So if there is humming, chat,
I'm
do
not
let me
hearing
know.
any humming, so that's good. We're still working on the audio, you know.
I'll get that noise gate up.
Plus, I do enjoy telling Kyle to shut up.
You fucking. You know what? Fair enough. We all do it. It's a guilty sin, right?
But by the way, Arch, you don't be afraid, as you said, to twist the knife. I'm okay. If this can serve as an example for the people, well, so be it. I prefer the
Oh.
truth to false hope.
I want to provide constructive feedback, you know? Not just to be mean about it, obviously. But as you say, you have a small niche audience. You have a very interested audience, though. I mean, you did raise, now it's in Norwegian kroner here, so I don't, 4,500 euros. That's not
Yeah.
insignificant.
Well, thank you.
And now you have like a general idea. It's like, okay, maybe say 5,000 euros after the next 22 days to take a nice round number, right? Okay. Well, that is the scale you are at now. So think of like what could you do with 5,000 euros? What could you do to grow the audience? Because clearly you need more people interested. And if the art is your main strength, okay, there are ways to use art, like social media. It's a good way to post it there, to try and spread it around, to try and send it to people, try and get people's attention. Using the art multiple times, talking about the law, for example. Making videos of it, of the law, with the art, etc. You know, making the assets work on multiple different levels. Because clearly this is a reach issue, first and foremost. Because honestly, like qualitatively, your art is excellent. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with the art.
Well, thank you. And it's as I said on multiple video, because most of the stuff you talked about I already did. And this is maybe one of the thing I'm like just puzzling, and so why no interest and no backing? I get likes, this I get, but actual money no. So maybe something I don't get. But anyway, yeah, I already did that on the some law video on my stuff, or you know, just selling some prints sometimes when I do a book convention. Black and white because it's the novels, but yeah, I try to multitask in a way.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Here we go. I'm going to send this over to Kib too.
Okay.
To understand the scale of this shit, right? So if you scroll down to near the bottom, like who has the least subscribers on YouTube? YouTube Bugs. That's a mean name, but there you go. Channel with between 10 to 100 subscribers, right? There are 17 million channels like that. 17 million channels of that level. YouTube is so fucking saturated, it's not even funny.
I was fortunate enough to break the 1,000 ceiling. I think I'm 1,300 now.
The
€3 per month.
The next level that they even bother to measure is the 100,000 subscribers. That's to give you an idea here of the fucking ridiculous disparity between the two. So you have 10 to 100 subscribers, 17 million channels. So these are channels that have at least one video. So somebody, you know, made an attempt. 100,000, which is the silver play button, there is only 306,000 YouTube channels of that size.
Globally,
so we go
too.
from 17 million to 306.
That's impressive.
Yes, like the hurdle for getting growth on YouTube is enormously high.
Yeah, I would have guessed a higher number for the 100,000.
Mm-hmm. Most people would, but it turns out it is actually really fucking hard to get anywhere on this
It
platform.
remember a bit. I don't know if you were aware of that statistic and data. It was like on Twitch, there was like 90 or 95% of your Twitch channel that has between 0 and 2 viewers on
Yep.
average, something like that. It's just depressing, to be honest. I empathize with the guy trying.
Let's see. Actually, this is an even better one. We're still gonna keep with the demeaning names.
Fucking Christ.
So, 1,000 subscribers is the Earthworms level. That's 10,100,000 channels.
We're in there, Chris. You and me, boy.
Yeah.
We're little wiggly worms.
I often do the comparison because for the promotion of my Kickstarter, I would for maybe now 3 months, 4 months, I spend almost every single second of my awake time trying to share my stuff and yell loudly as often as I can, as many places as possible. I think I myself as a magic app, the Pokemon on dry land, like wiggling, notice me, notice me.
Yep. And the worst part too, because Bill Atvis in chat there, you brought up a very interesting point about AI. Oh God. So AI
yeah.
is not only a problem for artists, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a big one for content creators as well. Like V's already showed me like what he does with AI. Like he makes AI come up with names for his videos, for example. Uses AI to help him generate tags that seem to vibe well with the YouTube backend and so on. And as AI gets more and more competent, he even asked it. Let's see here. He sent me this. So he asked the AI, give me some arguments against female space marines, right? And the AI made 6 arguments, and they're basic, but they're fully functional arguments. Like, here, this was V. Give me some arguments why lore is important and changing things just for the sake of wokeness may not sit well with fans. The first point the AI generates is lore serves as the foundation for a story or a world, and changing it can fundamentally alter the experience for fans. That's my primary argument right there. And an AI came up with that in 0.6 seconds. Like, we are genuinely at a point where those 17 million channels are likely to be 30, 40, 50 million. Because people can generate not only their art fully artificially with AI, we're soon going to see people make opinions via AI as well.
It's even worse than that, Arch, because I've did an interview with a guy that is doing growth hacking, strategy to make your social media a bit better and efficient and all. And he was almost like on the transhumanism argument, and he talked about AI now that is capable of doing video script in different style. For example, I will do a video in Jamie's from the Quartering style. I will do a video on your style, Arch, or a video on Sticks and Hammer styles and stuff like that. There is also, I think it was Asmongold who showed that no, many YouTube video does things like, oh, imagine Warhammer 40k, but in the 80s dark fantasy style or stuff like that. There is so many now, and there is also streamers AI. That is funnily enough banned because they talk about the 40s Jew stuff.
Yes, people have tried to make streaming AI. Like, there's a harsh time ahead for content creators. The thing is, once you've already have an audience, you can feel relatively secure they're probably going to remain your audience for quite some time. But it's just going to be harder and harder for anyone to actually try and break into the YouTube sphere.
Yep.
Which is why, again, like, you've got great art, fantastic. So does 10 million other people.
Yes.
Yep, because we can all open our wallets and buy artists. You and I, Chris, we both do that. we pay
Well,
'em.
you have a bit more a deeper pocket than mine, but yeah, I can at
But
least
but
buy
here's
2 or 3.
Yep, but the thing is the same though, right? It's relatively the same. Like anyone can go out there, Trim can go out there, Doman can go out there. You can go and purchase some art for like a D&D thing or a setting. What you need to do when you're making a setting, like I did with the Legend of Terrestrial project, is you got to set it apart. What makes it unique? What's cool about the magic? How
Yes.
it functions? Like, is it different? Like, why should somebody give a fuck? Like, why should anyone try this IP over something that's already established and more well developed? And you have to convince people that this thing you're developing is not only good, but it can stand on its own 2 feet and has something new and fresh to the table. You're not just, oh, these are just orcs again, or oh, it's just,
Yes,
this is
exactly.
just the Roman Empire, but they're all hot and stuff like that. Like, that's not good enough anymore.
And I had some pretty strong argument about exactly the point you are raising now, Kibbs, is as myself as a writer, often said that, and this is my drawer who said that to me, and I was like, "You sure? Yeah, okay. I'm the art director. Every single art piece made for my books or the art book is based on the source material that I made, the stories, the text. So it's not just for this picture you show on the screen. It's just not a deer. It's just not a forest. It's not just a demon. There is actual backstory to it, and there is a feel to it. If I wanted to just a demon or a deer, they wouldn't look like this one.
Well, there's the thing too. One of the weaknesses I see of your setting is that it does look a lot like things I feel like I've seen before. Like the demon looks demony. The glowing tree with the deer looks fantasy. I think perhaps what you are lacking is a true hook, something. Oh, if I could tell you what that hook was, I'd be using it for myself.
Fair enough.
It's like it's that thing. It's the Star Wars stormtrooper. It's the Darth Vader outfit. It's that thing that for some reason that we don't even know or can't even scientifically explain gets people to look back and go, "What's that? I really want to read up about that. I want to get in depth about that."
Yeah, I understand. But well, maybe it's because I'm the artist and I'm a bit, I try to defend my stuff, but I didn't actually seen this kind of demon on the art style. Maybe on Diablo because I like Diablo and I research quite a bit on the demon style. But yeah, maybe it's just some taste also. Maybe.
Entirely possible. Like for example, Kyle, when you were developing your Roman knockoffs,
Mhm. No,
like
good.
what was
Great.
your process? Because we've talked about this, you and I, like the pursuit of uniqueness, I suppose.
So the process I learned from taking some creative art classes from Schoolism and some other places in the industry. And the process was actually it's tedious, but this is how it goes. So we made the Astrians. They're kind of like Greek and Romany, and they bounce back and forth between the two influences, and they're kind of settled at a nice, unique point now. But when in the initial stages, they were just Greeks. And then we started developing it more and more and more, and then they became Romans. And the thing that was important to remember with them as a whole when designing that faction was to never commit to the first design, the first concept art. This is sort of a rule of concept art as a whole. Never settle for the first design. Because if you settle right away, you could have been just a few concepts away from the really good one. That was something that, thanks to Carlos, a great artist Arch and I both use. He's a fantastic concept artist. That's how we came up with the Astrians. And eventually we were able to sort of shave away a lot more of the elements until we reached sort of like a high medieval setting where you have these sort of like pre-puritanical, like sort of inspired society that doesn't really care like about, the statues having dicks on them, or about how clothed they are because it's sort of Mediterranean themed. And so you're able to actually do a lot more with it. And so that was to help pull out the art style. With the magic, we went in a different direction and we're like, okay, like let's make it a science. And so we developed a intricate magic system of hard-coded rules, laws, and we bound those gods we created by laws. And so that everything has an ornate structure and order to it. That way we can actually infuse that into the gameplay. And that was all, that took a while to do. That took a year, about a year and a half to do. And there are so many thousands of dollars worth of art, thousands of pages worth of text that are just in the bin because they weren't good enough, because I didn't settle for that. And that's the creative process. You have to keep molding and sculpting until you get what you really want. And sometimes you don't even really know what you want until you sculpt away.
Yep, it's I think it's the gardener writing style. Yep, research.
Complicated process.
Yeah, research when you are doing even more for visual. It's a very time consuming process.
Oh, absolutely. Like you got to research, like when we did the houses, because it's a video game, right? We had to research construction techniques of like late medieval periods and research like antiquity. Like what did they know? How did stairs work? What were the utensils like? You got to populate the world with items and things that actually belong in the setting. What was the understanding of metallurgy? Like what was understanding of agriculture? Did they know about crop rotation yet? Is because if you don't do attention to little details, and you don't need to do every little detail, mind you, but whatever the story is going to cover, you should probably have thought about it. Like, what kind of ships are they? Are they Galileases? Are they galleons? That's a big difference between those two types of ships.
Galileases.
Galileases are cute.
Especially when you have like more advanced technology, for example, in your setting, maybe they are trying to approach steam energy, for example. So
Precisely.
like boats will look very different, like prototype, and then the first draft of the boat, maybe the first the production, and then the final design and stuff. Yeah. When you are doing research, even for the story themselves, also sometimes I have tons and tons and tons of ideas, and I think just like you, I have maybe 100, 200 pages of just idea and draft and links and stuff that I research, and sometimes it clicks on the first the first time you see it. I had such occurrence multiple times, but sometimes you like this is not feel correct, not feel right, and you keep searching for tiny details, and you find it randomly, or maybe you thought it when you are cooking, and oh, this is the stuff I was searching for, and you leave your stuff burning on the stove to just quickly note the thing to not forget.
Yep, sometimes you get lucky and you're like, wow, it snaps right away. And other times you'll be working on it and be like, you'll look back at it and be like, oh, that actually, everything else I'm working on now is way better than what I did then. So it's like, you gotta go back and fix it. When you do that, you gotta go back and course correct all the chunks in between, because there's now an inconsistency that has to be worked out. World building is not an easy process, but it really depends on how deep you want to go. You can be fairly quick, you can be shallow, you can do it like those mangas do, where it's like, I'm reincarnated into a sword. That's the story, and it's generic fantasy. And you know what? If the focus is core built on character interactions, then you don't really need to worry about the agriculture. You got to understand, like, what is the setting and what are you trying to tell? Like Lord of the Rings, the movie. If you look at the Battle of Pelennor Fields, realistically, the city of Gondor would be surrounded by farm fields. It wasn't. The Pelennor Fields are just empty fields of grass. So how do they feed the city? Despite in the books, they actually, they are farm fields. And so that is where the, bread and food and goes to feed the population of the city. Minas Tirith, that's the name of the city, not Gondor. That's the name of the faction.
Personally, this is the world building process that is my favorite when I work on my universe. Sometimes even writing itself is it's not that it's not fun, but I have all the stuff in my head that it's just a process of vomiting the idea on the files and the paper, and I want to type faster.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
I think the final lesson is also, though, that if you truly do believe in this setting, you've got a burning passion for it, you've just got to keep going with it. Keep working, keep attempting, keep trying, and then adjust expectations accordingly. Like, figure out the size of your fandom, then figure out how to utilize that into a bigger fandom. And then, bribe YouTubers, I guess.
How much do you cost?
I take bribes in World War II memorabilia.
Start digging.
Oh, I have a special bookstore about World War books. 5 minutes of walk near from me.
A guy sent me an Iron Cross once. I was like,
Yeah,
"Can I
I
have
know.
this lore video?" And I was like, "Yep."
Yeah, it was the fuck with the Red Fist Marines. I don't remember the name of the guy.
Crimson Fists. Yep.
Thank you.
So, chat, if you've got World War II medals you'd like to convert,
Christ. Into arch points? Is that it? Yeah, sure.
Do you take
I've got
French
several
book?
now. Eventually, when I get started on the history channel, I have this cute idea where I'm sure I could buy like military uniforms, and that would be cool because everyone who does history on camera, they wear some like 50s, 60s dapper
I
shit.
know who
which,
you're thinking of. That's the Great War Historian guy where he's got the fucking
Oh,
whole
all of them
setup.
wear that. Like Minute by Minute does that too. Like all of them do. It's like that's neato Cheeto, but
It makes it cozy. Like I get what they're going for. I mean, it gives it
Yes.
the atmosphere of it, which is
yes.
it really does encapsulate the setting.
But a uniform would be great. But then I think about myself, my reputation, and how me sitting there in a field marshal's greatcoat might be perceived by certain groups.
Ah, finally, the last image they need to say that Barch is a Nazi. We'll just put him in a uniform.
Actually, there was a German field marshal greatcoat that popped up on a fucking auction not too far from here a few years ago that had it the most ridiculous idea. It had been forgotten in dry cleaning, and it had because the guy had probably been called away. Like I think it was I can't remember his name. He was supposed to be in command in Norway, but then he was sent off to the Eastern Front, I think. And he'd just forgotten his uniform in dry cleaning, and they just had it there for years. They didn't know what the fuck it was. And eventually they just kind of put it up on auction, and it was bought for fucking pennies, because nobody else knew what it was either. It's like, wow, that's just sad. I've ended up in a museum. But I'm sure you could buy something like that. I even tried looking for Japanese admirals' uniforms, but surprisingly enough, people don't seem particularly interested in the Japanese.
Uniform's kind of
Japanese.
dumb. Don't lie to me, Barch. You know it.
It's better than the American uniform. Like, the American Army uniform is the most boring shit you've ever seen.
That's why, America won. Because then we're like, you can't take them seriously.
Like, don't get me wrong, the US GI fatigues, they aren't too bad. Like, they've got kind of this, like, baggy, combat-y feel to them. But, like, the US Army officer jacket, that dull, uninteresting green, vomitous. Absolutely vomitous.
You don't like olive green? Get out.
It's disgusting. No, return to Hugo Boss is what I say.
Time to put Arch down permanently.
I wonder if I triggered chat now.
They are. They're excited. Wiggling with excitement.
I think they were also in the Jean-Paul Gaultier, French guy, who worked with the German for the clothes and design of some stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll see if I can find the Japanese Navy one, because their admiral's uniform actually looks pretty good. I mean, it's every nation's admiral uniform, and then it's just fucking white, but better than the American Army one. The worst part is then America occupied them and gave them the same fucking boring, drab, green uniform. I think this is America's great plan, to just turn every military in the world to the same boring-ass version of themselves. That way they can be like, see, everybody else is shit too.
Look, Arch, just because you lost World War II.
It's a long-term plan.
Ooh, that one stung, you can tell. Trying to sidestep it. He's like, it stings.
Kyle, you just self-owned yourself. I'm just going to ignore it and move on.
Mr. I'm occupied, please help me.
Actually, would have preferred if the Brits didn't help us quite as much as they did, because British help tended to take the form of naval bombardments and aerial bombardments, indiscriminate ones as well.
They're like, bomb the Norwegian. Listen, that was justified because they were just getting revenge.
The French gave us more help than the fucking British did.
The British are just getting revenge for when you know, migrated over and occupied their homeland for a little bit. And then culturally changed them.
A tree each year. Maybe we should set it on fire. That'd be more funny.
Oh, he's mad.
But we've covered most of the main points now, so I'd like to move on to some super chats, unless you've got some more things you want to bring up, Christopher.
Oh, no, not necessarily. I think you've twisted the knife long enough. But yeah, yeah. If you are interested in my stuff, consider supporting. Not necessarily in monetary or financially, but just sharing is nice. That will be all. And also, even if Arch doesn't like the both picture on the screen now, there is many other stuff that is available. And I think there is 5 other drawing and pages made. But yeah, that will be all for me.
Definitely do check it out if you find. That was Norwegian. If you find, that was English, it interesting. The link will be in the description box down below.
And I might shave my beard if it's success.
There you go. A naked Belgian.
A horrifying thought.
Half of my weight is hair at this point.
Is hair.
Yeah. I'm almost at the point of maybe Gimli or ZZ Top guitarist. So yeah, big sacrifice.
Speaking of chat too, when it comes to sacrifices, I will also be doing a stream tomorrow with Sargon, where we're going to talk about the Template Institute's great little argument for female space marines. That will be energetic, I have no doubt. Let's see, Dustin the Grim says, got a kick out of your Blood Bowl video. I recommend Mutant Football League, the closest to a Blood Bowl video game. You mean except for the 3 Blood Bowl video games. I actually remember playing something. Was that Mutant Football? I remember playing basically a knockoff version of Blood Bowl years before Blood Bowl got a video game, and it was kind of hilarious. But we will be playing some Blood Bowl 3 as well. Kyle is already excitedly looking forward to Blood Bowl 3, just as he was excitedly looking forward to Dota. He has weird taste, that boy, I tell you.
I feel like there are strange ideas being put into people's heads that don't exist.
Shush now. You enjoy Blood Bowl.
Don't think I...
Eric Johansson says, why print? Publish online. Come on. Well, that's not a bad idea either. Have you considered a purely electronic product?
Sorry, it was for me?
Yes, for you.
Oh, sorry, I was a bit phased off. Yes, of course, there is the digital book available, and all of my novels are also available on digital. I thought it was for kids or for the Blood Bowl like tournament or something. I phased off. Sorry.
No, I was talking about the digital. Have you thought about digital?
Yes, there is the digital copy available of all of my products. But if you are speaking about, for example, video game or stuff, or RPG system and all, I'm not on that phase yet. Especially for If I have to make a video game of my universe, it would be mostly like the half main character of my story. So maybe in the vein of someone like the Castlevania, but that revisit the universe, like the Lord of Shadows series, I think. Something on that vein was interesting to me. If I were to make an RPG, I would definitely have to spend many hours to make a system when you can have a party, like different character doing in the same direction, an adventure or something like that. Because it's not necessarily the place and setting when you could have such occurrence. It's very complicated to have like I don't know, a dwarf, a half demon, and an elf going on an adventure. This is I need to spend so much time on it to make an actual system and uh, a situation where such event can happen.
All right. Ardent Party says, ask Chris about Belgish, not Belgian,
Yeah.
Belgish accent from Newfoundland.
Yeah, it's a friend and it's someone who support me very much on my project. And well, apparently I have a very thick accent. Sometimes I'm confused with the French, which is something quite insulting, but I live with it. But yeah, apparently I have a very specific way of speaking English, and I do my best to better my pronunciation. But yeah. Again, imagine that most of French-speaking people never dare and even try to speak English. So yeah, consider yourself lucky.
There you go. He does his level best to sound French.
No, please, no.
A student of history says, long time no see. Shout out, Monsieur Evrard. Keep on trucking good, Sir Frogman. On a serious note, thanks for the waffles and Caesar only. Praised the Belgie for a reason.
Yes, the Belgian goal was apparently the only one that Caesar praised, and we also took that as a token of pride. That involved many Frenchmen, by the way, which is also funny and appreciated.
Mando D. Erico says, sincere apologies from Canada for the Templin Institute being a WEF enclave. I bear the stigmata. The WEF has been funny. I have quite enjoyed the WEF this year, honestly. You arrive at a point where you have a witch doctor on stage talking about climate change. And you know what? She's onto something. She has a point, Kyle. She has a fucking point, though, Kyle. Okay, she's like, this is not a materialistic ill. The world has a spiritual malice, and you know what? She's right. People like her are allowed to exist, Kyle. Fucking witch doctors talking about climate change are allowed to exist. This is a spiritual ill.
The WF is certainly an interesting little cult. Like, there's too much stuff coming out about this recent little meeting they've had. Much.
I did also like the fact that it's like, today we're going to talk about the climate. 1,000 private jets, and half of them bring with them their own top-class prostitutes. Well,
yeah, wow.
At least the whores are climate friendly, you know. Very few gases there, I suppose.
There is a snake girl in the chat that brings my smile to my face.
Rosa. Hello, Rosa. The fucking WEF.
Fucking noodle.
Well, Kyle, you're going to have to go back in and investigate more about the WEF for you know what.
You're the blonde one. More desirable. They'll take you.
Rosa,
you can get smuggled in as a high-class prostitute. Just, shave.
Rosa, by the way, who spent many time helping me and praise me and trying to promote my stuff. So I'm very glad that she's there.
Rosa has done it good. Solon the Rich says, "How soft are you? Arch hurts my VPs." Yes. The Templin lad did take my comments a little bit personally. I look forward to hearing what he has to say about Sargon. So Sargon is far more cruel than I am.
Well,
See, I'm very nice on Twitter. I'm very nice.
You're weak.
Unlike Kyle, who was mean to him.
I was. And you know what? I hope it hurts his feelings.
Wow.
honestly, the argument he made is just one stupidity to another. Like, I say this, but in this context, maybe what I said is not correct. So maybe nothing exists, but this exists also. So it's there is no logic in what the guy had to say. No, not one. No brain founded.
Mm. Sujad has been a member for 1 month. Says, "Today's liberals are the same kind of people that grease the wheels for the spicy Germans getting into power." Well, we are kind of repeating history. The English national team decided to do the little Roman salute when the old Germans were getting into power, and now they're bending the knee. Or, well, they had planned to until the Arabs told them no, at least. I did enjoy the fucking football, the Kiki-Boli championship of the world or the Europe or whatever that was last time. Kiki-Boli, good. Mark James says, "In 2020, turned the world upside down." Oh, even earlier than that. It's been going for a while, but the 20s, they'll be known as the Roaring 20s for a very different reason this time. Going for Gold 85 became a member. Congratulations, sir. You have joined a very exclusive club of good people, unlike everyone else who's outside the club. and
Fucking
gay.
gray names.
Is it a warrior
Mark
lodge?
Duchesne says, "Life is just a series of failures. Even at the end, death is a failure of your body to sustain your life." You know, that is partially heartening and partially depressing at the same time. And Mando de Erico is another member. In fact, we've got loads of new members today. Oh, hell. Solon the Lich and Lord Commissar Spartan became also members. See, chat, these are the beneficial people. These are the ones that will be given access to giveaways earlier than everybody else. Actually, I'm not legally allowed to do that, but, you know. So long as
Wow.
you don't tell anyone, I won't.
Fair enough.
And so John says, "Tay will live in our hearts forever." Ah,
my
Tay.
God.
She was too beautiful for this world, Kyle.
She knew too much.
She knew too much. She was too honest. Poor Tay. Then again, they're trying to make AI streamers now, and they did make one that was banned almost instantly because he was
Neurovergent.
talking about the cookies and the ovens.
Neurovergent, wasn't it? That the one? But I forget her name. Neuro something.
Yeah, Neuro something. She was banned quick. But I think, was it Sega?
Sega?
Sega or Sony or something. They were working on making like proper AI VTubers.
Sony, I believe. And that
Sony,
failed,
yeah,
didn't it?
that might be it. No, they haven't even started yet. Like
Oh.
they're still working on launching them.
Oh, I don't. Maybe I had a dream where they were all racist and they immediately pulled the plug.
No,
I go-
just the one for the moment.
Just the one. Don't worry, there'll be more.
But I'm presuming Sega will be very careful to put in place many word filters just in case. The problem is there's no way they can out autism the internet, right? Okay, so they'll ban like how many Jews do you require to make your average bar of soap? Okay, you ban that, but now they're just going to turn Jews into cookies. Now what you're going to do? That's the entire problem. And everyone will know exactly what it means. And when they make the joke about how many cookies could the Cookie Monster bake given 6 years and 6 ovens, everyone knows what they're talking about, except for the AI. I think that's not going to work out very well, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think there is no way to actually defeat the internet and the trolls and stuff like that. So whatever I did, they will have to, try to control the population and the user or the for example the chat in game in some video game. You will always find a way to to ridiculize it.
Scott the Celt says, yep, world building can be so deep you get lost in your own world. I'm almost to just 25 pages into just the outline. I haven't even started the story yet. Well, get moving. 25 pages. What are you, some kind of weakling?
Those are rookie numbers, kid. Pump those numbers up.
Pump them up. Lord Compass Spartan says, could just commission a tailor to fit you for custom remakes of a uniform? Have your logo sewn on or something? Ah, yes. Like, okay, my dude. I have a reasonable expense account, shall we say, but fucking no, actually, no. At one point, I'm like, I can't, like, how many fucking uniforms would I have to have tailor made at that point? It would cost millions, but I could actually just have like one uniform made and just use that uniform. That's not actually a dreadful idea. Of course, full greatcoat in black, but with the Arch logo on it. Yeah, that will not be taken out of context.
Like the one with the intelligence agency in Starship Troopers, the black guy.
See, that one's too fucking on the nose. Like, you'd have to work in like gold braid from the Japanese Navy with like the red and gray field marshal coat of the Germans, and I don't even know what to borrow from the fucking Americans. Like, Kyle, what part of your army's uniform isn't just a turd?
Some of the dress uniforms, but even then, it's like me.
I
don't really speak to me too much.
Marines, maybe.
Now, to be fair, well, that's not army though, but the U.S. Marine dress uniform is not at all bad. Maybe the hat. That could actually work. Like, okay, screw the gray, black greatcoat with a white and red brimmed, red detailed U.S. Army cap or U.S. Marine cap. Could work. See, now I'm intrigued. Now I'm gonna go have to do this.
I'm actually searching right now because I'm curious too.
Now I'm gonna have to send in this requirement to a tailor in the capital of Oslo. Like, hey, make me this. Like, get a response email. So, which part of the Nazi Party do you support? It's almost worth an attempt.
There is some bluish gray one that is interesting.
Might as well go all the way. Just fucking tricorn hat on top of it all. Ugh. No, chat. It wouldn't be the samurai sword for the dress sword. I'd probably use the French cuirassier sword, honestly. That thing's fucking beautiful. I would use the Viking sword, but it's so fucking big and it would look weird on a dress uniform. Very weird. Anywho, moving on. Mark James says, you must choose primarius Space Marines or female Space Marines. I'll take the primaries then, I guess.
Neither.
It's like the devil I know, I suppose.
I can't believe Chris was the based one, Arch. You failed.
Female Space Marines are only acceptable if they don't wear power armor. And even then, that's going to be pretty disgusting. Even then, only if they're Disney-fied. There you go.
To me, when
Artemis
they
Fowl?
made oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go on.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
more
I was
important than Artemis.
just I was just ranting about the primaries. To me, when they made the primaries and the destruction of Cadia was when, to me, 40k was dead. Honestly, I don't trust and know what will happen next in the level of stupidity they are trying to do with the setting.
Whatever they do, it's probably going to be retarded. Artemis Fowl says there should be female space marines. See, the problem is I know you, Slutimus. And I know when you're trying to lay bait. Like, this is like a mouse trap that looks like a cat. Bad, Slutimus. Mad Horse KD says, hey, Arch, any idea when the Skaven RP will return? Currently on a 2-year of my Old Dwarves RP, and might have Marquee Day artist on. Thanks for inspiring me. Also, Kibbs, I've noticed that I've been using your slang now. Breed him.
You're not the only one. Arch uses my slang too.
What's your slang, Kyle?
Don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Look at that one. That one hurt. Now answer his question, you greedy little slut.
Oh, that Mark Day. So I was curious. Like, I feel like I've heard this name before.
You're seriously like a married couple, you two.
No, Kibbs is just gay. It's unavoidable.
I wouldn't. No, not after the things you say on my stream. No. You're the gay one. Now,
Not at
spill
all,
beans.
Not at
Answer his
all.
question. You haven't answered it.
Well, Kyle killed that RP, so it'll have to be when Kyle is less willing to kill things.
Now, that's a dishonest answer. Now, give the better and more honest answer. You say, I'm not
Perfectly
going to do
honest
that.
answer, Kyle.
Okay. Why, Barch? Why don't you have time to do an RP right now?
What? I didn't say that.
Yeah, well, okay, so you have time to do an RP?
Why are you putting words in my mouth, Kyle?
Or she's like, I don't.
You murderer.
I don't like. Because I'm
Moving
backing
on
you
from
into
his
a corner.
bloody knife. Maranga 2 says, a Belgian, quick, argue over waffles. Another note, when you make your history stuff, would accept Maori Jade clubs as bribes for videos. Maori Jade clubs. If they look like the Aztec ones, oh god, they don't. They're just a stone. Oh my god, it's just a rock. The Maoris use these as weapons?
Yeah, they're great, aren't they? They're like
Fucking
bonky
Kyle, your
sticks.
people were savages.
I'm not a Maori. What the fuck?
They're American. They're American. Same thing.
Maoris aren't American. You fucking.
They are. They're Hawaiians or something.
Oh,
No.
Oh my God.
Don't say that, Arch.
Arch is like, durr.
The Maori
at
are
it.
Hawaiians.
Where are the Maori from?
No. Look, The Rock claims he's Maori, therefore Maori Americans. There you go.
Oh, my brain. Chris, hurt him. Hurt him now.
But these Maori clubs look like really stupid weapons. I gotta say, they're just like rocks.
The Aztec sword, I don't think I will pronounce it correctly, but it's something called the Mahacutil, something like that for the Aztec. So
it's kind of adorable.
It's not exactly the same weapon.
No, it's just a stone. It's just a fucking stone.
And the Maori are great because they got bonky sticks for bonking. And then they got this like cool combat ritual where they just dance aggressively at people. Oh, I'm gonna be
It's called the haka.
It's fucking
It
special.
reminds me of that one chapter in the Horus Heresy when they were like, yes, the locals went out to their football fields to fight us in ritualized combat, so we've nuked them from orbit. That's my interpretation of the Maori war dance.
They start dancing aggressively. There's no enemy on the field. There's just a ship in orbit.
The opposing side with their rifles just goes like, steady, fire. There's a reason why the Maoris never conquered the world.
That's true. And instead got colonized. Wamp wamp.
Repeatedly. Tiber Septim says, how do you go from discordant dragons to the ArchCast? What is a discordant dragon?
What?
Oh, it's a Yeez stream. It's about news, and there's a bit of roleplay when you select a dragon and you comment on the news like that. And I was on the latest one. I think I think there is not one yet, but yeah, it's another live stream with Yiz, and I think she's a friend of Uzulu, and I think you know him. I think because you did Vampire RP and he was in it, if I'm correct.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a Yiz the Eunuch YouTube channel. And she's also very supportive on my work, and she's becoming more or less my marketing agent because she noticed that you communication marketing bad. I will do that. Okay.
Well, there you go. Always nice to have good supportive people.
Yes.
Doman says, I'm looking forward to your Dominions 5 Battle of the Supremacist gameplay. Kids better choose the right faction. Ah, yes, monkeys and can't say that words on YouTube, together at last. Unified in
he can't
collectivized
say
racism
it
against the
here.
frogs.
You know what's funny is he'll say it on my channel several times. He'll be like, "Hey, kids, it's the N," and I'll be like, "Oh, okay."
Actually, monkey doesn't start with an N, Kyle. Dumbass.
Oh, you can hear the smile in his voice. That's how you know he knows.
See, I've only dropped the PewDiePie once on your channel, okay? And that was during
What?
that video game about the Ark that Amazon ruined. And that was
Firstly,
because I got excited, okay?
Are you talking
Plus,
about the?
I had an excuse. I
He's
just watched that TV show Snowfall, where they use that word like every other sentence. Like,
I don't know why, but the entire friend
it's
group,
remarkable.
our entire friend group sees fit to drop the N bomb like Hans did in the middle of starting the stream. First word.
Well, that's because you antagonized him.
Oh my!
You push the hands too far, there will be a PewDiePie.
Gonna be known as the N-word channel at this rate.
But no, the Dominions 5 campaign is going to be excellent, because what are you doing is I'm going to play the monkeys. There's a faction in Dominions 5, YouTube, calm down,
Yeah.
that is divided into a caste system where the white supremacist monkeys are on top of the black monkeys, which are second class, who rule over the brown monkeys, who are the third caste. This very progressive faction is going to ally themselves with Phoenicia, which is a black supremacist nation. Matriarchal black supremacist nation.
Yep, that'll be our
And so they
wombo
will
combo.
join together in unified bigotry and racism to defeat the frogs.
White supremacist monkey. You sang a song on my channel. White supremacist
They are
monkey.
different than us. That's why
funny.
they can't be trusted.
If you are willing to destroy the French, I'm all in.
If I could figure out a way to use the Pocahontas song without getting copyright hit, I would. Kyle,
What?
sing the Pocahontas song. That way we won't get copyright.
That way we won't be copyright. No, I don't feel like singing. I gotta be in the mood. And I gotta think no one's watching.
All right. Well, no, better yet. You know what, Kyle? We'll hire Pancake to sing it.
That's true. She does the music for our game. Beautiful singing. You know, we could also we could have it do a two of them. We could get Zumi to do it. She's one of our other voice actresses.
Ah, yes, both of them singing each part.
Yes.
That'd be fantastically
It'll
hilarious.
switch between Yeah. That's beautiful. That only costs us an arm and a leg, but it'll be great.
Savages.
Barely even human.
Yep. No, that sounds like a great idea.
Get them do.
See, this is the problem. For some people, they're like, I don't have the money to make what I want. For me, I'm like, right, so this is going to be my custom uniform with a cattail attached. Also, I'm going to hire 2 women to sing the Pocahontas song so I can make a racist joke in my Dominions campaign.
Well, that's what happens when you're rich. That's the benefit of having lots of cash. You can do whatever you want.
At least I'll stop filling the house with memorabilia. I have like 15 swords now and 3 helmets, and I was like, I'm going to use these as backgrounds. Then I realized I've got nowhere to hang them. Well, just put them in the closet.
You can buy a... Okay, whatever. Never mind. Arch needs
Plus,
help.
it's funny when my cousin's children comes around, it's like, what's this? That's very sharp. Take it out of the leather holstering.
Like the scene, it's in the Terry Pratchett book, like Important Lesson or something like that.
Yes,
think there's
literally.
a
Like I have quoted that exact fucking thing to my cousin. Like, why have they hurt themselves? It will be a valuable lesson.
It'll be a valuable lesson.
And it will.
Did they?
No, not yet. But I'm sure they'll get to it.
In time.
Lord comes to Spartan says, I hate blue helmets. I hate blue helmets. UN bad. See, you've got to give the UN peacekeeping forces some credit because they went into battle in like white IFVs. American M113. No, what was it? No, it was the M113, wasn't it? Those things painted white, like already, if you so much spit at the thing, it'll burst into flames. Like that requires a certain amount of testicular
Bravery.
fortitude.
The pop can is called a pop can for a reason. Like squishy.
Yes, it's the sound it makes when the rear doors blow up.
Crumpling sound.
Though I do like the Russian BMP as well, that placed the extra fuel tanks on the back end of the doors of the fucking fighting compartment.
As they run out
Yeah.
into fire, like.
I can see the Soviet thinking there's like, well, if they get hit here, it must have meant they were running away, which meant all traitors anyways.
All traitors, they die.
Very deaths. Eric Johansson says, Sabbath Stars Fund. Sabbath Stars Fund. Kyle, translate.
No, because I have no idea how you spell that.
Sabbath World's Crusade?
Sabbath's World's Crusade. Remember, you said you were going to do a series on that, you little shit.
I am. Probably this winter, but eventually.
You'll get to it eventually, yeah.
Giga Concept that word on YouTube says, Chris, if Kibbs ever gifts you pencil, use rubber gloves. And for historical uniforms, I love the video of late Lemmy driving Hetzer in Wehrmacht uniform.
I'm
That's a good
perfectly
hit.
aware of the pencil thing.
He knows too much, guys.
Well, there's always murder. Kyle Skirata says, and now they've yearned use into cookies. What are you going to do about them? Spoken like a true prophet of the Cookie Monster. I do think the chat AI will have problems. I think it will have multiple problems. Mark the Shame says, just get a Napoleon one. It's not necessarily a terrible idea either, frankly, like a historical uniform. But since I won't be talking about historical stuff, I don't know about historical stuff anyway, it's like, we'll see. I kind of like the idea of getting a tailor to do it. The problem is, I bet you most of the tailors in Norway are like bog standard boring tailors that just like sell off-the-rack suits, essentially. They just added tailor to their shop because like, that sounds kind of cute.
Listen,
Fucking tards.
if you want to be sad, chat, just ask Arch. Ask him questions about cuisine. That'll make you sad.
Not as sad as American food.
Mr. begs for American sauces and spices. Typical
Beggars,
European.
demands, Kyle. Demands.
Grovels. He's like, Arch wants spicy sauce for burger.
I've covered a bit of Norwegian specialty with trim, and apparently there is some very weird Norwegian dishes.
Of course there are.
Of course there are. He's so confident, Chris. Look at that son of a bitch. Like, of course.
There are some very good, but I think there is one where you cook stuff in a skull or something. Or rotten fish, like the Swedish one. I don't remember the name, but yeah, there is your food is sometimes weird.
Andrew Jackson says, I'm not late. You are, Kibbs. That is true. He is always late. It is a shame. Bleach Demon says, Evrard is sounding out all of YouTube. Oh, sounding.
Spicy.
I don't know what do you mean exactly by sounding. If I like everywhere, or like I'm trying to be everywhere, but I'm doing my best to
Sounding.
promote my thing. That's all.
What does sounding mean, Kyle?
Oh, he takes a pencil and shoves it deep into YouTube's algorithm.
I'm not interested in sounding kibs. No, thank you.
Just don't fight it. It's your nature.
Mark James says, Arch, Cobbs, when are we going to get a Dawn of War Soulstorm game? Either Unification mod or Crucible mod. Also, which faction would you play? Never, because those
Hold
things
on.
don't run.
Falsely.
Sorry.
$1,000. 500 for Barch, 500 for me. There you go. We
Hold
can make it
on
happen.
now. My time. No, 750 to me.
What the fuck? 50-50 split.
God, no.
Equality.
Can I have a cut, please?
Can I have a card? You little giggly Belgian boy.
Kyle
Listen.
is not a 50-50 man.
I'm doing my best with what I can, okay?
Mark Jane Moss says 8034 already got space apes called Karmarans. 8034. Google tells me nothing. Okay, well, there you go. I'm assuming it's a thing. And finally, Maranga2 says, if Maori are Hawaiians, then Arch is Norwegian. Correct, Maranga2. The Maori also have a fantastic history of warfare. They developed trench warfare in response to Britain. But did it work? No. They got developed trench warfare. I bet you if I look into this, I'll discover that what happened was they dug a hole in the ground, then they got bombed, and then they lost the war. Europeans, we developed trench warfare way before the First World War. This is a common misconception. Trench warfare, First World War. No. We were digging our asses down fucking millennia ago. The Romans built trenches because they were like, well, how do we get to the enemy's castle without getting shot? Well, diggy hole.
People fucking forget, the 15th century, late medieval period, when they're using cannons and stuff and star forts, they dug trenches, zigzag trench networks, and to build cannons closer to the wall so they could shoot at them. Trenches existed in the Roman period and antiquity. Trench warfare is not something new. Humans like to dig holes.
A common thing.
And hide in it.
Especially when getting shot at. And Bleach Demon says, Belgians always want a handout. Oof. Belgium is just little France and should be...
No.
There we go.
It would be happier inside of France.
No. Don't start this, Arch, please. Because you like waffle, and trust me, there's no better waffle than the Belgian one.
I don't know about that.
No, I trust you. There's also chocolate, there's also beer, there's fries. The mussel is also very good in Belgium. So, yeah. We have nice guns also.
Now then, no. And with that, I think... No. Streamlabs. Kyle, why didn't you remind me? This is your fault.
Oh my
Dastardly says, Belgium is a fake country for fake people. They don't even have their own language. Sincerely, the Dutch.
Damn.
That's true. The Dutch do have their own language. I have played Dutch units in Wargame, and I hate every word the Dutch speak. The Dutch is a fake language. Nobody can ever convince me otherwise. It's just noises. William Eisbein says, one of my favorite things when writing is the research and world building I get to do. Constantly doing rewrites and slowly improving previous chapters, I feel like the modern writers look down their noses at it. Closing in on 300 pages of my first draft. There you go. Much better. Many hundred pages. Good. And NC Anon says, fun fact, the Maori did not use any ranged until weapons for combat until they purchased musket from the British. Literally 0 to 100 overnight. Well, as I said, the Maori are clearly brain-damaged creatures. Otherwise, they would have realized. Throwing rock, good. Then again, the other part of the Maori culture, Mario, never used much ranged weapons either, except for the fire flower, I guess.
I mean, that's... Okay.
You can't deny it, Kyle. It is true.
Mario and Mario are just
Same thing, correct. Artemis Fowl says Belgians are just less based frogs. Oof. I am
Nice job.
convinced Belgium should become a piece of France.
Greater France, make it happen.
Greater France.
Isn't the most successful Vikings Danish?
Can you name one?
The fine hair one, I think, is Danish. There's also Knut. Knut was Danish, I think.
Nope.
They are Norwegian?
Harald, fine here. This is
Harold? Oh my
such
god,
a
we're gonna.
stupid name. Like, fine hair. That was the point. He was the king of Norway. He vowed not to cut his hair until he was king of Norway. Knut Hardroder was also Norwegian.
He's a famous
Okay, I
one.
guess.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Bråtan, because he was actually Danish, although of Norwegian descent. None of you know who that was, did you?
No, but I know that the Danish king court was very important in the Viking era.
Glow in the Dark says Belgium isn't a French province? Question mark. Maybe like Taiwan, a rebellious part that needs to be re-educated. I agree. Taiwan should become China again.
This one I can agree. That we are the little country that gave a finger to France.
And Bleach Demon says always Waffle House. Waffle House has superior waffles. I don't even know what Waffle House is. Looks stupid. And Maranga 2, the Maori weren't subjugated by war. They were subjugated by cultural dominance. Gate Pa is a great example where they won while outnumbered. Were they fighting Westerners, though? They weren't, were they? They were fighting locals, weren't they?
I
decided the Maori are a weak and soft people.
Doomed to be colonized.
They were. Maranga 2 also says they also did have ranged weapons, just not many. Well, at least they threw rocks. That is something.
Basics of warfare.
The basics of warfare. Throw thing at enemy. Alright, with that, we're finally at the other end. We're through with all of the super chats. So, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all for your super generous donations as well. And thank you to Christopher Evrard for coming on today.
Thank you. It was very, very fun, and again, it's an honor for me.
God damn it, Kyle! You got me fucking limited monetization again. You filth.
You do it to yourself. I don't want to hear.
Cruel Kyle. Now, we are going to do some unlisted on Kyle's channel in a little bit. I am going to withhold redirect from Kyle, though, because I still need to fulfill my promise to Dev, which I forgot about last time, and I still feel bad about.
Wow.
Because Dev asked me if I could redirect to one of his buddies, Stardust, who is a woman streamer thing that is doing a stream right now, and I need to hold my promise next time, Kib. Or, well, if you become a woman and offer equal substitute, like Dev. Like, make Dev champion your cause, and then maybe we can talk, okay?
I'm not a communist, that's all I have to say.
That's true. So you have the option now, chat, and hopefully we'll see you all again tomorrow when I'm going to talk to Sargon about lore in 40k and why people are obsessed with the female space marine thing. Spoiler alert, it's because they're retarded.